I'd like to call to order the town council meeting for June 24. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Brian Blazak,
Present.
Paul Panzak,
Present.
Wayne Pondinas,
Present.
Michael Schilling,
Here.
Gerald Swets,
Here.
Craig Phillips,
Present.
David Westland,
Present.
and Beth Hernandez, present.
Okay, so we have a quorum, so I'd like to look for a motion on the approval of the minutes for the February 26th, 2020 town council meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the
February 26th.
February 26th town council meeting.
Is there support for that?
Second.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Schilling, support by Mr. Blazak. Roll call, please.
Mr. Blazak,
Yes.
Mr. Panzak,
Yes.
Mr. Pondinas.
Yes.
Mr. Schilling,
Yes.
Mr. Swets.
Yes. Okay. Item 5 is public comment. Looking to the crowd, who would like to stand up for public comment? Adrian, go ahead. Tonight's agenda, remember?
11747 West 90th Avenue. I never committed a crime, and I never would commit a crime.
Adrian,
But Beth Hernandez has to go. Thank you.
that's it. And would you please leave? Now, yes, I want you to go.
I'll leave.
Thank you, sir.
I'll file a lawsuit against you.
Okay.
Believe me.
I think I saw, yep, Johnny?
To defend our democracy.
Johnny Boardman, 119 West 103rd Court. Can I give you guys some paper so you can see
Sure.
what I'm talking about? Okay, so I'm the president and founder of Mission One, a nonprofit foundation serving our veterans in need. I am proposing the town council to allow us the land behind the town hall and to be able to build the St. John Veterans Memorial in the grassy section in Civic Park. This will be based on public donations. My idea is to have 3 granite walls etched with Indiana fallen heroes' names under each conflict, starting with World War I to the present. 1 large centered, 2 sloping walls attached to both sides, 7 40-foot flags representing all military branches, POW MIA flag, and of course our nation's flag, centered higher than the rest. In the beginning of the monument that I'm proposing will be a big granite wall etched with all the sponsors' names in it. I won't go into all the details, you guys have all of it there. There will be a committee board of 9 members who are dedicated to making this monument beautiful. The town needs more attractions, especially honoring our veterans. And I believe that we need a memorial to honor the ones who have allowed us to sleep, eat, and breathe the very freedom that they have provided for us. In the future, I would also like to add a smaller wall just to the south honoring the retired police, firefighters, and paramedics who serve the town of St. John, who have also provided safety and protection to this town. At this time, I am asking the town council of a $15,000 donation to get the memorial up in its first stages. Signs being made of the future site of St. John, hiring an engineer firm to design the draft. And that's it. I thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I can answer them.
Anybody have any questions for Mr.?
How much land would this require?
Well, the grassy area, that's right behind Civic Park.
Behind here, right?
Where
behind
the
this drive here?
flagpoles are,
Yes,
Mike.
right behind the building.
Okay.
Right. Where the Civic signs, park sign is right
Mm-hmm.
now, that's actually where the wall will rest, facing on an angle. just
Now, would you
like
leave that sign up, or would you move that one?
That sign can stay up and move up above the wall.
Okay.
Yeah, that sign would not have to come down at all anyway. A walk path all the way going up, bricks, public donations, where if you want a brick, it's $150 with your name etched in it. Some of you guys that do know me, I'm relentless. And so, St. John is, I've been here a 20-year resident, and we need more improvement, especially honoring our veterans. So what better place to put it than Civic Park, where it's already honoring the vets, but we need memorials and it's attached and all that. My cost, projected cost is $1.5 million over time is what my final project would be. Electricity's already there, everything's already in place, so it wouldn't really cost taxpayers any money.
And you're asking us to donate you the land, or?
Yes, definitely the land to be able to build it, and also $15,000 to kick it off.
Now, who would have ownership of the land, the town, or your?
Of course, it would be the town.
Okay, we're just giving you the,
All right, my mission one would be only for the, it's a sponsored by mission one, and we would use our 501c3 for all the donations.
Scroll it down so we can see the land.
So any
Zoom
donations
in.
that come in, it will be a write-off.
No.
There will be a treasurer
is,
and
right there,
secretary that
yeah.
handles all the money.
Right there.
So it would not go to Mission One's bank, it would be a separate bank account, separate entity. It's just
Okay.
basically me driving it to be able to build it.
So, looking at the picture then, so it's the upper left-hand corner, is it going to be in the corner, or is it all the way across?
It would be right there across and then angling, just like the whole corner is.
Yes.
That's where it would be.
now how far south would it go? Because you got the pavilion and the parks there, would it border them, or?
It wouldn't go that much farther south. I'm basically looking at, and I can come over here and show everybody.
Please.
Now, that dotted line there, that's not how far south you're gonna
No.
go, right?
Since the parking lot's here, the walkway would start here with the bricks and come like this all the way to the site. A big concrete pad with an eternal flame, and then some monuments along the way for future. So we wouldn't have to come this far.
Okay. Well, I just see that green line, I didn't know if that's something you put up there, or
No,
that
no.
might be the GIS system,
You know, my property line.
property line, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Boersma?
So you mentioned a $15,000 donation and then fundraising. So would the money raised from fundraising then go, let's say we're all paid for, would it go in a bank to maintain it possibly, or how would that, I'm just curious how.
Yes, it
Yeah.
would go into a separate bank, a separate fund, where only the treasurer and secretary of the committee would have access to that.
Right, to keep it up and replace whatever, take care of things if it gets broke, whatever,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Right,
It-
right.
Obviously, like, to your question, it would definitely be still owned by the town of St. John, the land.
Well, no, the only reason I asked is when you originally came up here, you asked for us to donate the land, I didn't know if you wanted us to donate the
Okay. Both.
the ownership of the land, or the,
No, just a lot to do my vision. So,
Okay. All right, so we'll take that under advisement and let you know, be in contact with you to let you know what's coming up next.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Anyone else for public comment? Mr. James?
Good evening. Is that working?
A little closer maybe. It's,
I'll just talk loud.
he'll help you.
Okay. Good evening. My name's Andy James. I am here representing my company, Mad Bomber Fireworks Productions. Some of you also know me that I'm a developer in town, developed a subdivision, and I just am a little bit frustrated that the town is having a fireworks display, and as recent as early February, I spoke with Mr. Panzik about the fireworks display. He spoke with me about the possibility of doing a display on July 4th. And we discussed the different options. I encouraged them to go on a day other than July 4th so that I could commit the resources to the display that I wanted to make it a special display. Shortly thereafter, the whole coronavirus hit and everything changed. My companies, we had 50% of our customers canceled and everything got put on hold. All of our Big Ten tournaments, basketball games, everything's canceled for us. So at that point, we are still trying to make something out of this year. And I had not heard from Mr. Panzik, and I recently learned that the town was planning on having a fireworks display on Labor Day weekend. So I was frustrated that I was not contacted about submitting a bid or a proposal for the fireworks display. And thus I stopped by the office of the town manager to leave Mr. Panzik my phone number to have him call me. That was last Friday. I still have not heard from Mr. Panzik as of midday today. I'm frustrated because clearly my company is a leader in this industry. My roots are in St. John. I built a company I started my career here selling Christmas trees on the corner of 93rd and 41 when I was 17 years old. I've been more than one time when I was or was not doing business with St. John. I would do pro bono fireworks shows for the high school. As early or as late as a couple of years ago, there was a young person who had lost both parents in St. John, and the fire department wanted to do something to make this young man's day, and they called my company. We put on a pro bono fireworks display for this young man. True charity is never wanting to point out what you've done, but in this case, clearly, I feel that these things that I've done show that my commitment to St. John is significant, and to not at least receive an opportunity to put a bid forth or a proposal seems unreasonable. My company is one of the biggest companies in the United States. We do displays all throughout, from everywhere from northern Michigan to Kentucky, Iowa, we're Cleveland, we're all over the Midwest. And I'm proud of that. I mean, I would think that, and I own the company. I have 9 full-time employees. We do 600 or 700 events a year. And I would think that from my roots of St. John starting selling Christmas trees here and working at the gas station, I would think St. John's proud of me. I'm proud to be part of St. John and part of the St. John development now. And as far as my company and my displays, I mean, I get references. I got towns all over hundreds of customers, hundreds of park districts that all they do is sign a contract, don't even have me submit a proposal.
Right.
And so I'm wondering why is it that St. John would not allow me the opportunity
Right.
to do the same?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. If you want to address them at all?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I might address Mr. James. First of all, my apologies for the perception that we don't care about you. We certainly care about your company. So, you and I discussed February. We had an informal discussion on the phone. I appreciate all the knowledge you imparted to me. I also had strong recommendations for the other company, and really what drove it was the July 4th availability. So it's been a curvy course to get to today where we're at. So we had July 4th availability, and my fellow councilman and Beth is aware that, like, up to the last minute, we were trying to keep it on the 4th since the governor's back on track plan. So we were able to get July 4th availability with that vendor. It's a vendor that the town's used the last 3 years and was highly recommended. So we stuck with that because, okay, we're going to try to make this happen on the 4th. We're going to be like the town to do it on the 4th. At the last minute, we got cold feet. We were worried that what if the governor extended it by a week? We'd be scratching our heads, losing money. So there was a last-minute decision after we had pretty much forged an agreement with RKM that we would move it to Labor Day weekend. It was a last-minute decision. We had to make it now and get on board to even enable it to happen not really enough time to get quotes and accomplish all that. And they accommodated our July 4th schedule as well as the 4th and 5th of September. It's been, and again, I apologize, it's been a difficult year. COVID has kept me on the edge of my chair for this as well as a lot of other things. So, we had forged that relationship with RKM right through to the point where we had to make a last minute change. So you might have had available on September 4th, but we had already come to agreement at that point. They were going to do it on July 4th, and then we swapped it. I didn't want to pull the plug on that.
Okay, I'll just respond, and I never said I would not do it on July 4th. I tried to recommend the best possible scenario would be to be on a day other than the 4th because of July 4th being on a Saturday. Resources are taxed, and in that case, I would want to put the best show forward, including you even acknowledge that you're saying that you could do it on the 4th, but it wouldn't be your best performance, and I acknowledge that is the case. So I never said I could not do it on July 4th. I just tried to pursue you for the town's best interest and for the town to get the best value to do it on a date other than the 4th. And again, after that, I was never contacted.
And you're correct, and thank you for correcting me. I wasn't trying to misrepresent. You just said it wasn't, and we had, as I tried to indicate in my message today, we had more availability from the other vendor and a strong reference and working with them for the last 3 years within town. It wasn't just my choice, it was a collective choice and a short time frame, and that's where we ended up. So I apologize. I meant no disrespect.
So we'll make sure that you get an opportunity that if we do fireworks next year, that we can put in a proposal for that.
We can do that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so,
And next year we'll have all the lead time in the world and hopefully no COVID or funny business. So we would aim to do it on July 4th, squarely on the holiday. That's
and so in this case, you're not doing it on July 4th, you're doing it in September, yet
Yes.
you're not opening that up.
Correct. We're going with a vendor that we have used for the past contracts. That's the decision that we made. But like I said, we would be more than happy to invite you to propose next year if we do the same thing again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have public comment? Yes, sir.
Daniel Rising, 14902 93rd Avenue. I just want to, as a resident, support Johnny Boersma, his project. This council and the previous council has put a lot of effort into infrastructure and 41 and shops on 96 and all this other stuff that's going on. All of that is possible because of the people that Johnny supports, the people that Johnny bends over backwards for daily. Johnny is a humble servant to the veteran community, and he deserves to have something that he can pour his time and energy into that will represent everybody from the state of Indiana. And if we can shovel out road projects and everything else, I think that this can go closer to the top of the docket for the respect that it's owed, because this kind of outranks a new strip mall. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, then I will close public comment. We do have Mr. I'm sorry?
Commissioner Tippy wants to speak.
Oh, yeah, I was going to do that separately. I'm sorry. All right.
We have some,
Yeah, I want to wait till we're done, and then I want to call you up, so.
sorry, we have some written,
Okay.
submitted public comments. Okay, the first is from Nick, and I don't know how to pronounce last name, Crnokrak. Members of the town council, my name is Nick, and I live in the Green Acres Estates subdivision, which is directly east of the parcel in question today. I am here today to ask that you vote to return the zoning of the parcel that will be called Gates East 2R1 designation that was approved and submitted to the public in the Town of St. John's Comprehensive Plan dated January 2017. The current zoning of R2 PUD planned unit development goes against the current conditions of the character of the current structures in the area. On page 47 of the Town of St. John Comprehensive Plan, low-density, single-family residential is the predominant housing type in St. John, which is consistent with adjoining communities. The Green Acres Estates community has significantly large single-family homes with large lot sizes, the smallest being 1 acre. The Green Acres Estates subdivision's home per acre density ratio is less than 1 to 1. Mr. Lattin's submitted plan has a home per density ratio in excess of 3-to-1. The significant change in ratio does not take the existing adjoining community properties into consideration. I ask that the Planning Commission stay aligned with the town's comprehensive plan that was presented to the public in January 2017. The map in the town's plan, page 44, clearly shows that the Gates East parcel is to be zoned as R1. I ask that you vote to reinstate the R1 zoning so that Gates East can stay aligned and be consistent with the adjoining communities. The zone change to R1 would also help preserve the conservation of property values throughout the district. Property values in the Green Acre Estate subdivision have minimum ranges from $260,000 to an excess of $450,000, with all lot sizes being equal or greater than 1 acre. For reference, an acre is 43,560 square feet. As I've stated prior, the plan submitted by Mr. Lattin would allow for almost 4 homes to be built per acre, and the adjacent subdivision Green Acres Estates would experience significant decreases in property values for a plethora of reasons. Please reinstate the R1 designation. The current R2 PUD zoning also goes against responsible development and growth outlined in the town's comprehensive plan. The St. John Comprehensive Plan states that the town will continue to encourage the development of single-family residential developments that provide adequate transportation, connectivity, open spaces, trails, and amenities to attract new long-term residents. The plan proposed by Mr. Lattin shows hardly any open spaces and a multitude of plots that are put tightly together. In addition, the comprehensive plan states that you will maintain quiet residential streets with low traffic volumes that provide safe places for children. The high population density plan proposed by Mr. Lattin does not take any of these points into consideration due to the amount of people per acre that will reside in these areas. Please reinstate the R1 designation. Finally, the current zoning of R2 PUD is not consistent with the orderly development of public services. The number of homes in the submitted proposal would require public services which are absent from the new area. In addition, Mr. Lattin did not establish that the change from R1 to R2 PUD would not significantly affect traffic. Please reinstate the R1 designation. We have a public comment from Mr. Jim Ford. He just asks that, he says, Ms. Beth Hernandez, please enter this into the June 24th Town Council meeting minutes for public comment, since the agenda states this meeting is virtual for the public, listed on the town's website. He is asking that I share Commissioner Tippy's email that says, "Good morning, Jim. Thanks for the update. I have confirmed that our highway department has no objection to connecting Mill Creek Road to Parish. I plan to attend the council meeting on the 24th. See you there. Thanks again, Jerry." Lastly, we have a public comment from Mr. Dennis DeVito. He says due to COVID, he will be attending tonight's meeting via the web. He would ask the council the following questions. 1, can the council explain in layman's terms what the recent lawsuit settlement regarding East Gates means to that project? 2, has the prior legal sewer settlement been discarded? If so, are all terms in it negated? 3, what is the status of the annexation? Was it invalid, or is this an issue still to be resolved? 4, what became of the proposed changes to increase the number of units in the existing gates? And I can repeat those if you plan to answer.
No, that's fine. Before I get to Mr. Ford's, if I could just go, Mr. Westland, can you reply on any of those questions as far as the legal?
Can I see him?
Yes.
Specifically to answer your question, yes, I can reply, although I would just indicate that Mr. Lawton's attorneys have already asked the court to certify the most recent order for appeal. That has not yet been ruled on by the court, so if you want me to reply, I will, but I really think, I don't know that you want me to reply with the issue still being pending.
Right.
So my advice would be that although I certainly could answer these questions, that at this point, until the case, we have some finality to this recent order and the court rules on the question of appeal, that we wouldn't have any comment.
That's a valid answer. Okay, thank you. So I do feel bad regarding Mr. Ford not being here this evening because of the way the meeting was noticed. And he did refer to Mr. Tippy's email. So Commissioner Jerry Tippy, if you could come up, just kind of briefly talk about what Mr. Ford's concerns were, and also share, if you could, if there's any other information you can give us from the Commissioner's office.
Certainly. Yeah, there is a lot of activity going on from the county standpoint in terms of road improvements. But before I talk about that, I'm going to look at one of my former partners, Mr. Panzik, and talk about 2 points of ingress and egress in a subdivision. And we both know the importance of getting that not only approved at the Plan Commission level, but assuring that that part of the construction is completed in a timely manner so as not to cause an unsafe condition within the subdivision. Now, I'm not familiar, to the reasons as to why the developer is fighting the second entrance. I just wanted to be clear that if it were to be said that because Parish is a county road, at least for the moment, if it were to be said that the county had an objection, I can confirm that we do not. And one of the projects I want to talk about is Parish in 231, and this subdivision sits right there. And the ability for these residents to access 231 safely is going to come into play as 231 is improved by INDOT. Before COVID, I call it BC now, it's February BC, Councilman Panzik, Councilman Blazek, and I met with 3 members of INDOT at the county building in an attempt to try to get safety improvements made at the intersection of Parish and 231. St. John representatives brought great information from the police chief, from themselves, and were able to convince INDOT to approve a project for that intersection. That's the good news. The bad news is that the funding is approved in 2025. So the ball moved forward, but not very far. They also the county offered to possibly pay for an interim alternate that would create some new lanes, turning lanes, to create a safer intersection. They did provide us, for Parish, some alternatives to look at. This just came in last week, and I have our highway department, and we also have First Group looking at putting together cost estimates. So everything, of course, is pending funding issues due to COVID, which we probably won't know until the end of the year. We won't know what we really have to spend next year until then. But we're going to go through with doing the cost estimates on that intersection. The intersection of Klein and 231, we also received correspondence back, and INDOT wants to stay with their plan of a roundabout. The Parish intersection is also right now proposed to be a roundabout. And that job is expected to be funded and constructed in 2024. That's as of now. So, and they did not give us any opportunity to do any additional turn lanes on Klein, which means there's a better chance of getting something done on Parish, I guess. So now, also moving to the west side of town, we finally completed the 101st and Sheffield project, which took about a year longer than what it should have, and Murphy's Law entered in a number of number of cases on that project, but we're continuing to work in that area. Right now, we have a project, it's part of our current community crossings project, which is Sheffield, from 101st all the way up to 85th. We have, I know day one we caused some traffic issues. I don't know if you got any of those calls, but for some reason we routed traffic into your road construction projects, but we got that fixed on day two. So today they completed what we call the binder course level, and we have to test that, and then hopefully Monday or Tuesday we'll put the final coat on that, and that'll be complete. We also hired First Group to study 93rd and Sheffield up to and including 91st and Sheffield. And we're trying to create a project. This is just a study right now. We want to create a project that includes paving of 93rd, the county portion up to the St. John limit, and then improvement of one or both of the intersections at 93rd, 91st, and Sheffield. So that's very preliminary. I'm telling you that, I know sometimes you guys like to get in. You're welcome to come and look at what we got and make comments. And I know this was something that was suggested in the meeting that we had with NDOT. Paul and Brian suggested this project. And lastly but not least, our next year's community crossings project will be 101st Avenue from State Line to Calumet Avenue, in between the intersections that are improved. It's going to become, I guess they call it a 3-lane road, but essentially it's going to put all the proper turn lanes in, so that through traffic in both directions can travel through without being stopped by anyone making a turn. And as part B to that project, we have been in discussions with Will County and Crete Township to improve the intersection of State Line and 101st. There's a project going in on the southeast corner, and they've committed dollars to participate in the intersection as well. And tomorrow morning, we have a meeting with Crete Township and Will County, and they're going to find out their share of the bill tomorrow. So if they can fund their share of this project, we already have an engineer on board, so we'll continue with the final designs and get it out for bid, and hopefully, again, pending funds, get that one done next year. So that's kind of the highlights of what's going on around you from a county standpoint. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Comments, suggestions?
Anyone?
No? Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate your help with those, Jared. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If I may, I just wanted to add a comment on a topic that Jerry brought up, specifically 231 in Parish. It's a often brought up topic in town, and up until last February, the response NDOT gave was, yeah, we know it's rough there, but no, it's not bad enough. We don't think there's really a problem. It was a big change of view. It finally made the cut, is really what it boils down to. As bad as we think that needs to be done, there's 10 other people saying the same thing about their own project in their area. But we finally made the cut as far as with NDOT. So the state looked at it and said, yes, that's a problem. Yes, we'll pay for improvements. Bad news, it's a 5-year time frame. So I want to add this one more comment. You know, Jerry had offered even for the county to possibly chip in and pay for those turn lanes. And another comment I read often, and I'm just trying to educate the public, well, why don't they just paint the stripes different and just get that little left turn bubble in there? Unfortunately, NDOT won't let you do that. It has this, oh no, it's got to be X amount 100 feet long, and you got to be able to go 55 through there. It's quite difficult. So I just want people to be aware that is not as easy of a nut to crack as it looks like, but we're happy that NDOT has finally come around to funding a real project and a big one, so it'll be good news.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to new business, 6A. As a presentation and consideration of a proposal from Aqua Backflow. Is Tom here? Tom, if you would like to step up and introduce yourself.
I'm Tom Starowski, the CEO of Aqua Backflow. What we do is we assist water purveyors like yourself with running cross-connection control programs. In the state of Indiana, IDEM, which is the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, requires every water purveyor to have a backflow program or cross-connection control program in place. It's also part of the Indiana Plumbing Code that backflow preventers must be installed. For example, I noticed when I walked up the sidewalk that there's an irrigation system here for the building, and that probably has a backflow preventer on it. What we do is we help administer the program for the water purveyor. We've actually been meeting with St. John for a few years already because the water department reached out to us a few years ago seeing if we could assist because staff is getting overwhelmed as far as administering the program, which means you have to send out notices to all the water customers that have backflow preventers, follow up, make sure these backflow devices get tested, track the testers, the test kits. There's a whole procedure involved with the administrative tasks of doing a backflow program. Right now, I think there's roughly 1,800 backflow preventers in St. John. It's my understanding with all the development of the new houses and everything going on, there's a lot of new irrigation systems going in, and it's difficult for staff to keep up with all the notices and that. So what we do is we handle all the administrative tasks. Everything is done online. We communicate with the testers. We communicate with your water customers. We handle all the notices, the phone calls, the faxes, the emails. And then the St. John basically has an online portal where everything can be viewed, the current status of all your water customers, all the backflow tests, all the testers, everything is accessible to your staff all the time. And when IDEM comes and does their sanitary survey every couple of years, they're pretty pleased to just know that, okay, well, you're using Aqua Backflow services, and they know of us because we've been here for, I don't know, 10 years, something like that. They just look at the software program and say, okay, well, you guys are compliant. You have an active program. As I say, we've been here for quite a while. A couple of new towns that started was Bargersville and Frankfurt, but Fort Wayne, Evansville, Citizens Energy, they've got like 50,000 backflow preventers around Indianapolis that we oversee their program. It doesn't really matter if you just have a handful or if you have a whole bunch. It's still, staff would need to purchase the software, plus you've got all the mailing costs, plus you've got the staffing time and everything else to take care of it. So again, what we do is we handle those administrative tasks. You have the option of either paying for it in-house, which I'd say we maybe have a dozen utilities across the country that do that. When I was sitting there, I looked at it, it looks like it'd be roughly $17,000 if you paid for it in-house. However, the majority of our clients have the water customer pay for the program. So in essence, what happens is the backflow tester goes out, tests the backflow preventer, enters the test results online, submits those tests. They actually go into a shopping cart like any other shopping site, and then the tester pays a $9.95 filing fee. And that's where we get our revenue from, is that filing fee. So that's, again, you could pay for it in-house, you can have the customer pay for it. The theory behind that process that we created is the water customer that's a threat to your distribution system, they've got a backflow preventer. And the reason they've got that backflow preventer is so they don't contaminate your distribution system. So in essence, you're making that customer pay for the utility to track it. And we meet with the Irrigation Council and other contractors all the time, and they basically told us we already have that $9.95 filing fee in there because we're working for roughly 30 utilities in Indiana right now. So the cost is not going to increase to your water customers because it's already built into the contractor's cost anyway. So your water customer, in essence, would be getting letters from us with the St. John logo and letterhead and everything on it saying it's time to test your backflow preventer, hire your contractor, and it's got some educational material that we send out to your customer too. So.
Okay.
So I know I went through kind of quickly with the process, so feel free to ask any questions.
So I do have a question. So is IDEM requiring this backflow throughout the state?
Yes, it's actually been in place for years. And typically what happens is they'll come, if you don't have an active program in place, they'll write you up. You'll either get a warning or you'll actually get a notice or a fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we either have to do it in-house, and if we don't have someone capable of doing it in-house, then Like they come in and,
So basically,
now,
the town has to do this, one way or the other.
The town has to
We,
do
we
it.
can hire somebody
Right.
and pay $25,000, $30,000 for somebody to do this. It's
Right.
hard to start up. Your company takes over, we give you the information, and you get your money by the tester.
Yeah, there's no
Now,
cost to St. John whatsoever.
This does
so.
not affect every house, like somebody on the internet has said, a previous town council member. So you are wrong. It does not affect every house. So ladies and gentlemen, that you're listening, do not get on Facebook and listen to some false
Yeah.
tales. That is not right.
No.
So if you have a pressure vacuum breaker, a sprinkler system, that has to be tested.
Right, whether it's a
And-
fire sprinkler or lawn irrigation sprinkler.
And
it has to
for
be
some of
tested.
you that don't know that, that's on the outside of your house, it looks like a little bell system.
Right.
That has to be tested once a year.
Right.
Most likely if it's brand new when it goes in. If that's not tested, you have your field for your irrigation system, it's like a septic system. Water, bad water can get in there, fertilizer, bugs, that can backflow into your house, into your own drinking water. And if you don't have, most houses now have a backflow preventer that's untestable in the house, but that can also backflow into your house, or it can go back into your water main. So you can have, if you're a bricklayer in your new construction, if you don't have no backflow, you got a hose in the drum. That drum, if there's a water main break, or we're testing hydrants, or there's a fire, all that water that's in that drum can, or in your field for your irrigation system, can come in and contaminate our water supply or contaminate your house. And that's what this is about. This is about safety. It's not about money. So the town has two options. Either use this company from this gentleman, and I've already been accused on Facebook that I know this guy, I got something to do. I make no money with this.
Nope, just
I don't
met
know
you
this
tonight,
gentleman.
so-
I did not pick this company other than the lady in Public Works and our water operator. It was two companies that came and they presented their proposal. So this gentleman, this company, doesn't cost the town anything on a yearly fee. Another company, there was a charge. So the town council now has looked over the information. I've given it to them, and we have to do something. So it's either you hire somebody and let them do it and pay $40,000, $50,000 to do it, or pay this company, we give them the information, and they take care of it. So it's not something that we got elected and all of a sudden now we're going to charge you for more money. If you have the backflow device on your house, you should have, that protects the town's water. It's safety.
Right, yeah, and a lot of towns start out by just doing a spreadsheet, which I think they might have done too, but once you get to a certain point, it's just the spreadsheet doesn't work, so then you buy software, which is probably gonna cost you $8,000-$9,000 to buy software, plus a subscription, plus the staffing and the postage and everything. It's actually less expensive, even if you paid for the whole program to have us do it, versus doing it in-house. But again, why should you pay for it? Put the burden of cost back on those specific customers. You just have a few hundred commercial customers, I believe. The majority is the lawn irrigation customers. So they would be paying that $9.95 filing fee, which, from my understanding, is already built in to most testers' pricing anyway when they come and start up the irrigation system.
Yeah, and I think it's a good idea, and for the public that's listening or that's in here, item does come out, and they come out and they look at everything, and you have to be MS4 compliant, and this is just part of being in compliance. This was brought up over 4 years ago, and the man that's on the internet, talking and blabbing with that I'm wrong. No, I'm right, and I'm for the people. I'm for safety. So kindly get your story straight. This is a good program. Other towns have it. There's a few towns that do it themselves. But again, do not listen to all the people on the Facebook because they're wrong. I have a state license in doing this. So who would you trust, the guy with a license or the guy without?
Yeah, and I am a licensed plumber and cross-connection control specialist, so I've been doing this for 35, 40 years, so I know all the ins and outs of IDEM and Indiana and basically what's going on in the country, so.
And there are some sad cases. If you take a class in it, they give you some cases with a mortuary and the backflow not working right, and that water, the bodily fluids getting into the water. We don't want that in St. John.
No.
We want to keep everybody safe.
We have a website, backflowcases.com, that I always refer people to for education, and people can go there and see all these scenarios that take place, so.
Right.
Thank you for the education. Mike, did you have a question?
Yeah, one thing with your system, you know, people report to you that they had it tested. Now, do you take that into consideration on our list and make sure that everybody every year?
Yeah, we actually track every single water customer that you have. For instance, you know, if Mrs. Smith down the road puts a lawn irrigation system in, usually your water utility or staff would notify us that, hey, they put a lawn sprinkler in. We put it in the system, and then every year they're getting notices. Obviously, we don't have the power to go and shut them off or fine them or anything else, but we send the notices if they still
But
don't.
you would send a notice if they didn't.
We do, we send multiple
yearly,
notices.
I think, to us, and then. we
Yeah,
would
then
shut
what
them.
happens if they don't comply with our notices, it does fall back on city staff to go ahead and follow up to, you know, say, hey, you need to get this tested, it's a state requirement, so.
Okay.
How does the customer let you know they had their backflow checked? Like, how do you know they did it?
The backflow tester
They
does
can go
it.
online, he said.
So what happens is when we've been in houses with meters and stuff, we know they have the record that when we put a sprinkler meter in
Right.
or there's a sprinkler system. So we have a pretty good record of who has what in the houses. And new construction, if they're putting a sprinkler meter in, you have a separate sheet. So it goes to the secretary and she'll give you that information. But yeah, you have to have backflow protection. You have to have the program.
Yeah. The water customer doesn't notify us. The water customer hires the contractor. And that contractor, I mean, all of the Indiana contractors know of us because we're all over. And so the contractor, we would notify all the contractors saying, okay, well, St. John is starting up the program with us from, you know, August 1st. You must submit all test results to us. And so they go online, they submit the test results to us then.
I think now all we currently do is put at the bottom of a water bill when the time comes.
Yeah.
That per ordinance.
Right.
1510 or whatever it is,
Yeah.
you must have your backflow.
And it's all
Yeah, but
on our
there's-
system.
It's all on our system.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not-
there's
I
no
won't like
follow-up
that.
whatsoever on it,
No
so,
follow-up.
right.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, so what's your pleasure, council? I guess the question would be, Mr. Westland, have you reviewed this contract?
So I looked at, it's a 3-page document. I only had a couple of comments. It incorporates the 16-page proposal, which I didn't have a chance to review, but I didn't see a term, like a period.
The term
an
is
end
in the
date.
proposal. There's a pricing sheet, that's page 16 of, which I can give to you, but you choose how you want to pay for it. Do you want to have the customers pay for it? Do you want to pay for it in-house? And
I'm
that,
just curious, if you put it on the record when the end date is, because my
Yeah.
comment is that in this, there's an auto renew.
right, there's an auto renewal clause in there.
And
Because
typically-
we don't have people cancel. Usually once they hire us, they just keep going. But you can start with a 1 year, you can start with a 3, most start with a 3-year, because it really takes 2 years for everything, you know, for all you water customers to get familiar with us.
Yeah, I get it. My only comment is I typically don't like those auto renewals for
Sure.
municipal clients because, you know, you know, if you decide to opt out and then you blow the time of the 30 days before the end and
Oh,
then
yeah,
it auto renews. And
There's a phrase in there that you can cancel at any time, so you just have to give us written notice that you want to cancel the contract. That's part of the contract as well.
But, yeah, other than that kind of like renewal language and I didn't really see anything glaring. And
Yeah.
and I didn't have the full.
And to be honest
16
with you, the reason I put that auto renewal in there is I bet you 60 or 70% of our clients don't have a current contract with us. So it just, because like, oh, did you expire? It's like, yeah, 2 years ago, and we just keep going. So that's why we just made it auto renewal.
I understand.
So do you feel you have to change something, or is it good, Dave? Or
And you can. I mean, I deal with attorneys all the time of tweaking the language a little bit, so.
The only language I would say is this paragraph 6 that, 30 days before the expiration of the term, the parties would, enter into an agreement. I just want it to be a conscious decision, right?
Sure.
As opposed to, oh, heck, I forgot. and
Yeah,
now
I
we're
forgot
stuck for
about it,
another
right,
year.
I understand.
So with that caveat as an amendment, then I don't have any other comments to the,
write it on your sheet what you want. Well,
you want me to write it in?
please.
Okay.
So is there a problem with making that modification? Okay,
No. I would
Alright.
just initial next to it.
okay. So what's your pleasure? Is there a motion? An action on this, or,
I'll make a motion to consider proposal by Aqua Backflow.
is there support for that?
Support.
Questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Blazak?
He went to sleep.
You muted yourself.
He's muted.
I thought you muted it when all the noise came through. We need signs, yes.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Yes.
There it is.
Okay.
Mr. Panzik?
Yes.
Mr. Pondinas?
Yes.
Mr. Schilling?
Yes.
Mr. Swett?
Yes. Okay, so that passes 5-0. So we considered the proposal. Do we want to approve the proposal? We done that? I'm sorry. Do we consider or do we approve? What did we just do?
We considered it.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve it?
And I would just ask, so paragraph 6, I've rewritten, just so we get this in the minutes. The contract will be renewed upon agreement
Yearly.
of the parties 30 days prior to the end of the term.
Sure.
I mean, so that,
That's
I just
fine.
want some meeting of the minds
Some
at that
closure
point,
on it,
right?
yeah.
So, okay.
And then I'd like to get it retyped and redone, and then we'll take care of it, so, or can we hand it in that way? Or have it
You can
signed?
initial it
Okay.
with these on there.
All right, thank you, Dave. Thank you.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the proposal for Aqua Backflow.
There's support for that?
You also, you gotta put in Wayne, the amendment for the 30-day. He wants that in there.
Oh, okay. With the amendment for the 30-day contract renewal per Dave Westland, our attorney.
There's support for that?
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Blazak?
Aye.
Mr. Panzik?
Yes.
Mr. Pondinas?
Yes.
Mr. Schilling?
Yes.
Mr. Swett?
Yes. That passes 5-0. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Anything else you need from us before you?
No, I imagine someone will be in contact with me
We will.
as far as moving forward. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out.
Yep.
Okay, 6B is consider ordinance number 1707, which is the ordinance revising the subdivision control ordinance. This did receive a favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission. Mr. Panzik?
Mr. President, I would ask the council to defer considering ordinance 1707. We have a few modifications we'd like to make to it. It's been a long time since this has been revised, and we want to make sure we get the final few important changes in. So it will come back to us for us to submit a list to the Plan Commission to make those, to address those changes, and then it will come back to us again for approval if we defer it now.
So Mr. Panzik makes a motion to defer. Is there support for that?
I'll second that.
Mr. Schilling supports that. Can we roll call vote, please?
Mr. Blazak?
Aye.
Mr. Panzik?
Yes.
Mr. Pondinas?
Yes.
Mr. Schilling?
Yes.
Mr. Swett?
Yes. Okay, so that is deferred. Our item C, to consider acceptance of a letter of credit from People's Bank in the amount of $28,195.20 on behalf of CWS Holdings LLC for Greystone Unit 2, Block 5, and this received a favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
There's support for that from Mr. Panzik,
I'll second.
support by Mr. Pondinas. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Blazak?
Yes.
Mr. Panzik?
Yes.
Mr. Pondinas?
Yes.
Mr. Schilling?
Yes.
And Mr. Swett?
Yes. That passes 5-0. Item D, to consider acceptance of a surety bond in the amount of $353,786.88 on behalf of Altoff Homes LLC for Walden Clearing Unit 2. This received a favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Panzik. Is there support for that?
I'll second it.
Support by Mr. Schilling. Roll call, please.
Mr. Blazak?
Yes.
Mr. Panzik?
Yes.
Mr. Pondinas?
Yes.
Mr. Schilling?
Yes.
And Mr. Swett?
Yes. That passes 5-0. Go to item E, which is to consider the reduction of a security bond on behalf of Altoff Homes LLC for Summerlin Estates from $596,046.62 down to $61,629.75. This received a favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission. Do I have a motion?
And once more, so moved.
Motion by Mr. Panzik. Is there support for that?
Support.
Thank you, Mr. Pondinas. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Blazak?
Yes.
Mr. Panzik?
Yes.
Mr. Pondinas?
Yes.
Mr. Schilling?
Yes.
And Mr. Swett?
Yes. That passes 5-0. Item F, to consider a contract with RKM Fireworks Company to provide a fireworks display at Heartland Park on September 4 at dusk. The rain date of September 5, 2020 is included in the contract verbiage. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to, can I make a comment before we vote?
You may.
Being that I think it was Mr. Kennedy was here and saying that nobody got back with him, I'd like to table this. I love the fireworks. I think it's a great idea. We need fireworks. This town's been cooped up for so long. I would like to table that and get a couple more bids, because right now everybody's is been canceled. So I think we can probably get a good price on it. But I'd like to give Mr. Kennedy, I know there was no callbacks.
Mr. James. Mr. James.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
If it was Robert F. Kennedy, I guess.
But that's okay. I would like to make a motion to,
You want to defer this?
to let him have the opportunity to bid on this. I know there was a mistake.
Proposal together.
Or a proposal, yes. And get that together and see what happens. Just out of respect, because he's been in town, he grew up here, and we kind of dropped the ball on it.
So you want to defer this, is what you're saying? Is that what your motion
Yes,
is?
sir, yes, sir.
Okay.
So I would kind of hear that as a motion to defer action on item F and direct the town staff to obtain an additional proposal.
Yeah, that.
There you go.
That's kind of what I heard Wayne say, so.
Yes.
You want one additional, or you
Well,
want
any
more?
additional,
Okay.
any additional would be fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
Is there support for that?
I'll second that.
it.
Okay, Mr. Panzik, is there any issues with the time frame?
It may be an issue, but I'll support it.
Okay.
It hopefully with the lesser work now that's out there, it might not impact things, but I was informed of a pretty tight 2-month schedule of lead time, so we may have to take this up sooner than our next meeting.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if we're going to have a meeting mid-month.
Would there be time to submit a,
Yeah, I mean, there's time to submit a proposal, it's the back end of it, so, but yeah, I'll support it, we just may have to come up with a creative way to address it, and just for discussion, to avoid delaying it to the next meeting, is there any way to take action? Probably not.
Can we approve the amount of this bid or this proposal and authorize either myself or the town manager to sign whatever's the most responsive proposal? Not to
No,
exceed?
You've got to.
I don't think you want to expose the amount.
Right, and so I think you want to get the other bid,
Okay,
and then to get a recommendation on the responsive and
okay,
lowest, so.
we can do that. All right, so there's a motion to defer, and second by Mr. Pondinas. Support was by Mr. Schilling? Yes, it was.
motion by,
Mr.
second by me.
Motion by me, second by
Yeah.
Mike.
That's what I said, okay.
Okay.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Blazak?
Yes.
Mr. Panzik?
Yes.
Mr. Pondinas? Pandina?
Yes.
Mr. Schilling?
Yes.
And Mr. Swets?
Yes.
Mr. President, Mr. Westland, can they still keep the proposal from RKM? They don't have to have him resubmit?
I think what you should do is ask him, does he want to stick with the proposal? I mean, obviously, he's probably going to be aware of what's now transpired, but I would ask him if he wants to stick with that proposal or submit a new proposal, and then if Mr. James, also known as Mr. Kennedy, if he'd like to submit.
That's why I like an attorney.
So
with
yes,
humor.
I think that would be wise to ask for fresh proposals.
Okay. So where did we leave this?
It's deferred.
Okay. And you're going to submit a proposal, Mr. James?
Well, thank you for this opportunity. Like I say, it's what I do.
Okay.
It's very important to me.
Okay, so that is deferred. G is consideration a settlement agreement between the town of St. John and Robert J. Thiel, Charles J. Thiel, James W. Thiel, Thomas J. Thiel, Patrick L. Thiel, and Peter H. Thiel for the sum of $93,800. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to consider the settlement agreement between the town of St. John and Robert J. Thiel, Charles J. Thiel, James W. Thiel, Thomas J. Thiel, and Patrick L. Thiel, and Peter H. Thiel in the amount of $93,800.
So your motion is to approve that?
Yes.
Okay, motion by Mr. Schilling. Is there support?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Blazak supports that. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chairman, if I may interrupt, I would recommend an amendment to authorize the town council president to sign.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. So you'll have to amend your motion and the second.
I'll amend my motion to allow the town council president to sign.
Okay, is there support for that, Mr. Blazak?
And I'll second it, yes.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Blazak?
Yes.
Mr. Panzak?
Yes.
Mr. Pandina?
Yes.
Mr. Schilling?
Yes.
Mr. Swets?
Yes, so that is approved 5-0. Item H, to consider agreement with Michael W. Ripley, President of HR Unlimited Resources, for some human resource counseling. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the agreement with Michael W. Ripley, Human Resource, HR Unlimited Resources for Human Resource Consulting, and authorize the town council president to sign.
Thank you, Mr. Pondinas. Is there support for that?
I'll second that.
Support by Mr. Panzik, I'm sorry. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Blazak?
Yes.
Mr. Panzak?
Yes.
Mr. Pandina?
Yes.
Mr. Schilling?
Yes.
Mr. Swets?
Yes, that is approved 5-0. Item I, to consider a memorandum of understanding for the exploration of a fire protection territory by and between the City of Crown Point, Winfield, St. John, Cedar Lake, Center Township, Winfield Township, and Hanover Township. So we've attended, just for information purposes, we have had a couple of open conversations between the executives of each of these municipalities, and they really are just in the beginning stages of seeing if there's any advantages for the town of St. John to look at a fire protection territory. This agreement doesn't obligate us to anything financially. It's just a conversation at this point, or basically a memorandum of understanding, so that we understand that we're going to work together to see if we can put something together. So, do I have a motion?
I'd like to ask Attorney Westland a question. You had a question, I think, or you, on paragraph 4. Is that been clarified now? Are you good with that?
Well, paragraph 4 is a little bit inconsistent with in the paragraph 4 talks about if anything in this memorandum of understanding is ruled invalid, then the rest of it stands. And I guess just understand that a memorandum of understanding by its nature is not a contract, right? A contract's a contract, and a memorandum of understanding says, hey, this is the action we're going to take, but we're not contractually obligated to do it. So my comment on paragraph 4 was, it's kind of inartful in that the document, at any point, the town could say, or any of the other municipalities could say, listen, we don't want to continue this exploration, right? We don't, but, so it's really just kind of a gesture of good faith, which I think as someone who's considering to going into partnership with other municipalities, there should be some gesture. And this is kind of the what they've chosen. I don't have an issue with it, but understand what it is. It's not a contract.
Okay.
Thank you.
I know in the past they've looked at fire territory districts. I'm not in favor of it, you know, especially with all the other, some of these don't even border our town. You know, I would be more inclined if it was a Cedar Lake, Dyer, Sherville, you know, more closely, but hell, we're going all the way out to Winfield Township and.
Yeah, and so the discussion that we had when we did our Zoom meeting is this is something that is initial steps, and it may never come about because of the way the taxing districts work, and somebody's going to have to pay more money than others. It may end up that maybe 2 or 3 of these municipalities will come together and form their own fire district.
And one thing, you know, in St. John, we well funded our, you know, we've taken care of our infrastructure, fire station, fire equipment over the years already, and I don't know, I don't see any benefit for us for the money that we've already invested in our own town.
Right.
That's my opinion on it.
So you're not in favor of even having the sit down to talk about it?
Not with that many entities.
Okay. All right. So, Mr.
But if
Sh-
you guys have support, please go, but, you know,
Well,
I just, that's my personal opinion on it, that's.
Right. Well, the reason I started with this thing is because when we were campaigning, there was a number of councilmen that had talked to Mr. Niemeyer in Cedar Lake, said they would be willing to sit down and find out what it would take.
Yeah,
And
Cedar,
so he
you know,
came.
like I said, I wouldn't mind the bordering towns, but this is, you're getting too many.
Yeah. I'm not here to talk anybody into anything. I don't have.
I agree with you, Mike. It's a long ways away for some of these towns, and we probably don't need to get involved with that.
Especially Winfield.
So you feel the same way, Brian?
So,
Yes,
is Brian still talking?
yes.
He's there.
Okay. So
I'm here.
I had the same concern. I've actually brought it up previously. I think just shooting from the hip, you know, right here in the beginning stages, that it would be a much better fit for us to partner with Cedar Lake and Hanover, possibly, the US 41 corridor. We have commonalities. We have a common need of needing a fire station between us and them. They need it on the north end. We need it on the south end. It could be a beneficial relationship. And again, that's just, you know, shooting wild right from the get-go. I don't want to be in a relationship with Crown Point or Winfield. They have an interstate. They have a lot more calls for service. They have high-density housing, multifamily housing that is not consistent and of same character as St. John and Cedar Lake. I feel like St. John and Cedar Lake are a much better fit. If we were to even agree to a territory, I just feel like that's the better fit based on the lay of the land as it sits today. Now, I did talk to Mr. Niemeyer about it because he's quite knowledgeable, and he says, well, with this memorandum, he goes, you're basically just getting accountants to run the numbers. I said, so if we wanted to, obviously we're not agreeing to anything, but if we wanted to pull our numbers and Cedar Lake's numbers and Hanover's numbers out, we could pull them out of the spreadsheet and drop them in and see what it calculates to. So that's what he indicated, is that this is basically, they're looking to get an accountant to throw numbers out there, but I'm going to tell you that I would be hard pressed to join with Winfield and Crown Point. I don't feel that's a good fit for us.
Okay. So I still need a motion, if I'd like to have a motion.
Nah, motion to deny.
Motion to deny by Mr. Schilling. Is there support for that?
I'll support it.
Support by Mr. Pondinas. A roll call vote, please.
Mr. Blazak?
Yes.
Mr. Panzak?
Yes.
Mr. Pondinas?
No.
Motion to deny.
Oh, I want to deny it, yes, I'm sorry.
Mr. Schilling?
Yes.
And Mr. Swett?
Yes. Thank you. That is denied, 5-0. Reports and correspondence. Town council. Mr. Schilling, anything?
I have nothing.
Okay. Mr. Pondinas.
Yeah, I got a few things. You had,
Wait, I got something.
go ahead, Mike. I'll refer it back to you.
Monday, me and Wayne did 4 interviews for the park board, and this is the position that came about by the resignation of Frank Bradkey. We interviewed 4 people, and I would like to make a motion that we appoint John Boersma to the park board.
Is there support for that?
Support.
Support by Mr. Pondinas. Comments, questions? Roll call vote?
Mr. Blazak?
Yes.
Mr. Panzak?
Yes.
Mr. Pondinas?
Yes.
Mr. Schilling?
Yes.
Mr. Swett?
Yes. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Anything else, Mike?
No, that's it.
Wayne?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay. All right, and Jerry, you had mentioned about campaigning, about talking about this fire the territory. Well, while we were out campaigning, we also did some campaigning about, we wanted to have a study session before a meeting, and then a few weeks later, have our regular meeting. And I think right now, there's a lot of confusion with the residents as to what's going on, and I think we need to stay on our campaign promises that we bring the study session into play so that the residents that are here, that are watching us, know what we're doing and get a better feel for what we're doing. And I think that'll take a lot of confusion out of people, they said this, they said that. I think it'll be a lot better, and it'll be something that we're going to keep one of our campaign promises. So I'd like to bring that back. That's one thing.
Okay.
And I'm done with that. Another thing, when we started that, I know our town attorney questioned that. Most towns do have 2 meetings. And I'd like to at least try that. I think that would make things work real good for our town. So with that, there was an issue that I want to put on the record about the farmer's market. We had a person that was employed in the farmer's market leave, and then we hired somebody rather quickly, and we should have advertised it. It was said that it was an emergency, but it wasn't an emergency. If you had a full-time employee, yeah, it might be an emergency, but this is only on the weekends. So it happened. I think that it could have been offered to, like it says on this, in our vacancies and appointments, we didn't follow this, and I think we should have. So I'm not going to drag on about it, but I think we could have offered it to somebody that was living in the town, or at least post it like it says here. We didn't do that, so I'm not happy with it, but it happened, but at least it's on the record. And then I would like to bring up, it came up early in the executive session, about securing this building. When we were running for office, the previous town council spent $35,000 on key fobs for this building. And they wanted to have security. Why we got to spend $35,000? Well, we did, and now we came up where they had to rekey it, and now there's keys that are out. And I think we should get the key back and have it in the clerk's office, the town manager's office. There's always a spare key if there's an emergency to get into this building at the fire department. And I think, there's been questions on who's complaining about. I'm complaining about it. I'm a councilman, but I also a taxpayer in this town. And I didn't appreciate, spending the money, okay, we've spent it, now I want it. I want who's ever coming in and out of this building, I don't care what time it is, it needs to be
logged in. Having a key means whoever has the key, and you don't have control who's gonna pass this key out and get extra keys. So that means that person, if you got a key, can come in and out here whenever you want. I know there's cameras in the building, but I am adamant about, not doing it that way. And my last thing is, with all this stuff that's been going on with the protests, the rallies, I want to thank our police department, our fire department, and our public works department, and everybody that cooperated through the protest/rally. It worked out real good, like any protest should. Everybody has a right to their First Amendment, and everybody has a right to their Second Amendment. I think it went great. Everybody this town I can be proud of. And I just want to thank everybody that was involved with that. Our police department did a great job in planning. The fire department, they had to move things around, so if there was an emergency, they could take care of that. And our public works assisted in setting everything up. Again, I am proud that, I live in St. John. I'm proud of those departments. And I thank everybody. I'm done.
Thank you. Paul?
Yes, Wayne, the police and fire absolutely did a great job. I'm also going to just throw this out. Oscar Martinez and the county definitely backed us up. If the general public knew the work that they put into ensuring nothing would happen, we all hope for the best, right? But prepare for the worst. They put some work into it, and it was amazing. So yeah, we had backup from the county, and I'd also, again, repeat what Wayne said, and especially thank our police chief. He's forged some great relationships with the surrounding towns and police forces, and it's a great thing. We're really backing each other up. It's a good thing. So regarding study sessions, I agree. In fact, we were having them somewhat regular, and then we went to that can't have a meeting unless it's life or death situation, and I would look forward to having a few more study sessions as well, pretty regular. I mean, maybe not every month, but more than not, because we
more
could
than
use
what we're doing now.
Yeah,
and I think that would be great.
Yeah,
and I'm glad you reminded me about the sheriff's department. I did forget them, and I apologize.
Well, I know you didn't exclude them on purpose. I just wanted to make sure to mention them. But yeah, the study sessions, maybe not every month, but certainly having more, it makes our job easier. You all don't know how hard it's been for us to function. Even just having Brian remote, it's so difficult to hear people and discuss things in truth. Last thing I just want to say, Mission 1, the memorial, been behind it since the minute I heard about it. I appreciate Beth bringing it forward with Johnny, and I certainly support that. We're looking forward to getting that off the ground and rolling. Definitely would like to see that an honor to our veterans right in our hometown, a place we can go to, not the next town over, something right here. Hopefully there'll even be something on that wall to denote if they're a St. John resident. I'd like to focus on our local St. John residents, St. John Township, that kind of thing. So appreciate you, always what you do, Johnny, but bringing that forth and being the band leader for this, it's a great thing. Appreciate it.
Anything else? Mr. Blazak, do you have anything to add?
I think everybody's about covered it all, Jerry.
All right. Thank you, sir.
I got one more comment.
Okay.
I'd like to thank our attorney, Dave Westland, for the job that he does. Remarkable. And my hat's off to you because you do fantastic. And thank you. Thank you for your services, your advice. You're a phone call away, and I thank you. I really appreciate you.
You're gonna make me blush.
Look at that. An attorney that's loved.
Give me a few
For
more
now.
months, I'll grow on you.
I was gonna say, for now.
For now.
Yeah, it's what have you done for me
It's
lately?
always easy when you're winning, right?
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, I would kind of like to reiterate some of those same things. Dave, with the correspondence that we've gotten in the last few weeks and all the work that you've done, resolving some of these litigation issues we've got, you've done a great job, and I really appreciate it, and thank you very much.
No, and we appreciate, the town's been great. It's been a great partnership. Proud to represent the town.
Okay, Love Fest is over. I would like to also, just say, Wayne, Beth, it's good to see you guys at a meeting. I'm looking forward to seeing Brian here again so we can all get together and get some of these a little bit easier roll call situations and also do some of those study sessions together. Clerk Treasurer Beth, do you have anything?
No, the only thing I would add is if Mission One is able to get the Veterans Memorial up and running, prior councilman Ken Gambala, he worked pretty hard on having the park
Civic Park.
rededicated from named from Civic Park to Veteran Civic Park. So if he's willing to participate, it may be nice to have him be a part of the process as well.
Sure. I would love to have him as a committee member.
Right.
I forgot about that, thank you, Beth.
No problem.
Yes, you know, my committee isn't gonna be anybody that just wants to be on board. It's gonna be somebody that drives, somebody that really wants to fight and has the heart, as I do. That's what I'm looking for in a committee member, and Beth, you did mention him to me before, so thank you for that. But yes, if somebody could reach out to him.
Mikey can.
Mikey, you know, give him my number.
Yeah, give him a call. I got your card. It's right here in my wallet.
Does this position come with a vehicle? Do I get that soon? I just want.
All you gotta do is request it.
No, we don't have any spare vehicles.
Anything else, Beth?
No.
All right, staff. We don't have police or fire here. Go to our town manager.
All right, I just have a couple of things. The first thing is, we were contacted by Ms. Colleen DeVries regarding a discussion about, she would like to have with the council about possibly providing what's called a safe haven baby box in the community. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but essentially what it is it's a box where someone can drop off a newborn in a safe situation, and then it has an electronic monitoring system, and there's an immediate notification of emergency personnel to come pick up that baby. She wanted me to approach the town council to see if there was an interest on the part of the town council in locating one of those here in St. John. Some of the parameters associated with it would be that it can't have a security or any sort of surveillance type of system associated with it because of the requirement for there to be anonymity associated with the person who drops off a newborn in one of these. So that kind of negates the ability for it to be the public safety facility or town hall, for example. So the first question was, where would we do such a thing in town if we did? But I wanted to bring it to your attention. And you have a fact sheet that's been given to you earlier in the meeting that has some information about how these things work. Apparently there are 25 of these in Indiana currently. But it has to, first it has to be a fire station. Well, again, we only have one fire station, so or a hospital, and we don't have a hospital within our boundaries. We have medical facilities, so obviously there's the potential for community or possibly Franciscan if there's something facility-wise that might work there. And again, no cameras. But then there's some other facts and figures there. So I just want to present this information to you and let you decide if it's something you want to pursue at all. And simply that's what she's looking for, is as a response from the town on if it's something they're interested in even possibly discussing or not, and just to let her know so that she can decide to move forward with us and discuss it more in detail or not.
Okay.
So
One thing the building has to be manned 24 hours though, too, right? If it's
no, well,
because I think that's why they use the fire stations. So I think our only option would be the fire station. We would have to move cameras away from the area that it's.
well, or like I said, one of the medical facilities.
Well, but I don't think, we don't have a 24-hour medical facility.
Yeah, and I don't.
Well,
think
maybe
that-
we need to look into the requirements a little deeper, and then if you could dig into that, Craig,
That
take
would
a
be the
look at
only
it.
thing perhaps that could negate the situation, is what Mike brought up. So I guess barring, well, if there is a facility that qualifies, is it something you're interested in doing? If not, if we determine that there's no such facility in St. John, do you just want me to respond that unfortunately, given our situation with our fire station, being under surveillance because of the fact that it's a public safety facility, period, not just a fire station, that perhaps it might not work.
Yeah, I think that, or you have to move you got to pick a section of the building where you're not
Or
gonna.
there's no camera.
have cameras aimed at it,
Which could be a
But I do
challenge.
think it has to be something with 20, because if they drop the baby off at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's an alert or something that alerts whoever's at the building
Yeah.
that there's a baby there. Now, if we had a dispatch center, it'd be great because there's someone there 24/7,
I prefer that we see if that's even something that we could even viably do, and if there is, then we can discuss it further. And
Okay.
if it's not,
Okay,
then it will be resolved that way.
okay.
Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah, yeah, especially with our circuits, lack of 24-hour.
Okay,
There's a lot of info here to sort through.
right.
And then the second item is, Mike, do you want to discuss the street sweeper this evening, or do you want to hold off on that?
Well, we did look at two of them. If
I can pass some information.
Yeah, that's
out,
fine.
And we can talk about it. So just a little bit of background. The town currently pays roughly $25,000 a year for street sweeping services, but it's only twice a year, if I understand correctly. And the idea was that perhaps we could consider the purchase or lease purchase of a piece of equipment that would allow us to be able to do street sweeping whenever we wanted to, rather than being beholden to a two-time contract per year. And this information that you have in your packet includes some information about the models, but also some potential financing options if we reduce. Really, the only feasible option for this would be, rather than an outright purchase, would probably be a lease purchase, anywhere between 4 and 6 years. And then if you turn to kind of towards the middle of the packet, there's a spot where it talks about TCF equipment finance first. And there's a 4-year, 5-year, and 6-year term. If you compare that to the $25,000 that we're already paying annually for this service, you can see the difference there would be anywhere between $20,000 and $40,000 annually, compared to what we pay now for that option. And then there's a second piece of equipment, which from the conversations I've had with Bob Davis and Larry Bustamante, the preference would be the second piece of equipment, which is the Elgin Pelican, I guess for the ease of maintenance and the familiarity with the piece of equipment by our existing staff. And that that includes information on a possible 5-year lease purchase. And see the difference. For that piece.
Is that on the back page here?
The last page. The difference there would be, basically, it would be an additional $25,000 per year for payments for 5 years on that piece of equipment. So it's, like I said, between $20,000 and $40,000 is the range of costs, in addition to what we already pay annually, and we have paid consistently for the last 3 years. That roughly $25,000 a year. And Beth, does that come out of Cume Sewer and Storm? Do we know? Is that where the payments currently come out of for the existing street sweeper payments?
I think it comes out of solid waste.
Yeah, it could be
Solid waste?
Solid waste.
Okay.
It wouldn't be, I don't think it's King's Sewer.
One thing, I would have purchased this, in this price range, what would the procedure to be? Do we gotta go out to bid on?
I would suggest you go out to bid, you take bids on it.
Yeah.
Well, if you do a lease purchase, is that required for the amount that's shown here?
Well, because the purchase.
Bid,
It's still a purchase.
It's still a purchase.
Yeah.
So I guess the question really to you guys is this something that we would wanna go out and submit a bid for and get proposals on and purchase, or what's your guys' feelings on it?
Well, it seems like we already have two proposals, correct?
We have two proposals here, yes.
But because of the $240,000, we have to do an actual bid on it?
I think you'd have to notice it, correct?
You would.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not,
Oh, because of the
Like-
total amount,
yeah, and
not
then,
because of the amount of the payment, but the total amount.
Total amount of the purchase, regardless of how it's paid.
So it's over
for.
150, then you
So that
have
would be
to-
an
okay.
official
I think,
process.
So I think, well, Mike, you've talked about the fact that we need to do more street sweeping than we do.
Yes. I'd like to see that
And
done.
if we did it twice a year instead of once a year, then we'd be spending 50,000.
Mhm.
That make sense?
no,
Well, if we did it 4 times a year, I think we do it twice a year now and it totals up to 20. We do it once in the spring, once in the fall, but other times of the year, it still looks dirty out there and to adequately do it, you would probably have to do it 5 times a year, you know. So if you contracted it out 5 times a year, you know how that adds up, you know, it'd be over what you would spend on a lease purchase. And, you know, Jason, you run our MS4, you know, you're familiar with that. They you know, they want more sweeping to keep the stuff out of the drains, you know.
I think lease purchase is the optimum choice to begin with and go from there.
He said lease
Lease
purchase.
This would be the direction to go.
Baker Tilly
Yeah, the
agreed with that.
question just remains whether we can fit it into the budget or not with all the other things that are going. And the-
Exactly my point. Lease purchase is gonna be the only way we're gonna be able to slide it into the budget.
How much interest, do you know, Craig, is it in there, if we lease, how much interest is that gonna cost over a period of 3 years, 5 years?
The rates, yeah, the
I'd
rates are
probably
there.
pass it up, but
Let's see, so.
You'd get a 3.39 interest.
We'd have
rate.
to, I mean, we'd have to add that up, but basically, you could do the math and figure out, you know, for example, 4 payments at 63,821 versus the total cost of the unit. That's the difference in that is your interest, so,
What was the figures again?
Probably about $72,000 in interest.
okay. And that's on the low end of the lease purchase.
Right.
Term.
Yep.
On the high end, it'd be, 44,000, so,
Well, I'm just looking at making 60 payments of $50,000. Comes to 300,000 on a piece of equipment that's 228,000, so that's $72,000.
so,
Am I looking at that correctly?
sounds weird.
Well, that's over
So
5
I-
years.
yeah, but can I just make a
Go ahead.
suggestion that, you know, and it was, I think, Paul and Wayne brought this up earlier, like the study session, this is like kind of the time where, you know, a study session, you can kind of hammer through like numbers and you can pull out a calculator but in a situation like this, where you've got 2 pieces of equipment, you want to be able to compare those pieces of equipment pursuant to your specific needs, right? Which is another reason you like to bid. And then sometimes you like to bid the lease part too to multiple banks. And I think Beth can probably speak to this better because you typically want to get, the rates can fluctuate, which is going to change your payment. And so I think this is good information. I think my recommendation would be to defer. I wouldn't feel comfortable with you wanting to do something tonight on it, but,
That wasn't the plan, but yes.
okay, well, I couldn't tell which direction this was headed, so I just thought I'd throw that out there. You want to, and sometimes the lease purchase option's better with the manufacturer because they're doing incentives to get rid of a piece of equipment. So you want to look at all those options.
Right. So I agree with you. This is something that would typically be done in a study session. We haven't had any. This is the first time we've actually had 4 councilmen in the same room for a while, so, yeah, I agree. And I think it's something that we need to look at for budget year, next year.
All right.
But you definitely need to get the work going on it, so thank you.
Thanks for doing the work on this, Greg, and bringing it to us.
I'd like to say that, you know, we are one of the only communities around that we don't have a sweeper. And I know this is, if you know Mike Schilling, this is his dream. He dreams about a sweeper. So, but he wants
want
it
the
down.
place
He wants
clean.
it down clean. He wants it neat, and I get that. So,
As long as it has 2 brooms or 3 brooms on it, I don't care what manufacturer it is, I want, it needs to clean.
but, it's a good idea, but I want to let everybody know that we don't have, a lot of the towns around here have the sweepers. Some have 2. I think East Chicago has 3, but there's a bigger
Yeah, they're bigger.
town, bigger city. And I think there could be a need for it, and I'd like to bring it back maybe next month. You get more figures on it, leasing, whatever, or, let's look at it some more.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay. Anything else, Craig?
That's all I have.
Okay. And did I go to you, Mr. Westland?
You didn't, but I don't have anything else.
Okay, nothing else? You shared it all? All right, so we go to item 8, which is the request to purchase. We've got some requests in front of us. You want to review those?
The first is for B&B sewer. It's for Edgewood Inlet installation in the amount of $4,600. That was presented from our Public Works Department. We have Ferguson Water Works in the amount of $10,800, and that's for water meter registers, 72 of them. Another one for Ferguson Water Works in the amount of $4,272. That looks like it is for the water meter that will be installed at Crew Car Wash. The police department has submitted a request to purchase for squad repairs for Unit 12 in the amount of $4,438.76. In 2019, the Board of Water Works supported the following request to purchase for M.E. Simpson, but it's my belief that the town council is the correct board for authority to actually approve the purchase. So we're gonna bring it back to the town council, and this is for, again, M.E. Simpson in the amount of $63,700. And Mikey, I don't know if you can explain this any better.
What is this,
It
water
says
distribution?
Water distribution system valve program.
They're gonna exercise all the water main valves, right, Mike?
Yeah, this is exercising the mainline valves, not the is it hydrant flushing on here as well, or no?
Thought it was.
Okay, it's got something,
Well, it says find GPS location.
okay, that's gonna
They're gonna
pinpoint all the
fire
fire hydrant locations?
No, they're going to GPS map all the water main valves and exercise the valves.
Okay,
So we'll have a accurate list of all the locations of the shutoff valves, so we can then put that into the network trace program and say you have a water main break at this particular location. These are the valves you have to turn off in order to isolate that break.
How soon would that be implemented for Public Works to use? Year and a half, 2 years?
Whenever they get done with the complete mapping.
Okay.
sometimes it takes a year or so.
Well, it also depends upon the age of the valve, because right now we're having them go through the newer subdivisions with the brand-new valves. So there's no chance of them breaking, or very little chance of the valve breaking. Once we start getting into the older sections of town, those valves haven't been touched in decades. So we are not sure if they're going to be working or not, and if they start leaking, then we're going to have a water main crew come out to repair the valve. So it's going to be a very long and slow process, because we don't want to damage too much equipment.
Now, do we have someone out there on site with them, watching them do it to make sure it's getting done?
To my knowledge, no.
All right, can we have someone that does follow, I'm not saying follow them around over their shoulder, but make sure at the end of the day, they give a report of what they've done, and they can go out and at least make sure it was done?
I think Bob Valois gets a weekly report on what they're
Weekly
doing.
report? Okay. Sounds good.
So this was approved at the March 26th meeting, 2019, of the
It was approved by the Board of Water.
Waterworks for,
But the town council for our ordinance has authority to approve purchases 4,000 and above, not each respective board.
okay.
So I guess you could view it as they're giving their
Recommendation?
recommendation in a sense, even though it probably didn't.
The water board wants us to pay for this.
Well, the water board's paying for it,
But they need us to
ultimately,
approve it.
The council has to approve
Yep.
the payment of the request to purchase. Request to purchase, like, they don't go to each respective board per se. The town council has to approve them. They can go there if you'd like them to, but you have ultimate authority.
Okay.
Lastly, you have, this one was just submitted today, Mugabug. Again, from our Public Works Department. I'm assuming this is for the mosquito spraying.
Yeah.
In the amount of $7,432.50.
Have they been out mosquito spraying this year?
Not that I'm aware of.
When's that program gonna start?
Should start now.
That's
They-
fine,
if
as
they
long
got
as we,
supplies,
if, Craig, if you
they'll
wanna
start.
check tomorrow with the
Check with
Public
Bob,
Works Director
yeah.
and
I'll check with Bob and let you
see
know.
when the spraying schedule is and if we can get one so we can make sure it's actually out.
So anybody have questions on any of these items? Then I will entertain a motion.
We're gonna do each one individually or?
Take them all together.
Okay, I make a motion to, pay all the, requests to purchases.
Do I have support for that?
Support.
Thank you, Mr. Pondinas. Roll call, please.
Mr. Blazak?
Yes.
Mr. Panzak?
Yes.
Mr. Pondinas?
Yes.
Mr. Schilling?
Yes.
Mr. Swett?
Yes. Okay, so that passes approved 5-0. Next would be the payment of the bills. I see the docket in front of me. I did have a question on the docket, or actually a question on the hydrant rental.
It's not on here.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so then we just have the normal docket then. So do I have the docket in front of me for $1,394,689.75. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Schilling, is there support?
Support.
Thank you, Mr. Pondinas. A roll call, please.
Mr. Blazak?
Yes.
Mr. Panzak?
Yes.
Mr. Pondinas?
Yes.
Mr. Schilling?
Yes.
Mr. Swett?
Yes. Anybody have anything else? Then I will look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Blazak. Is there support for that?
Support.
Thank you, Mr. Danzik. Roll call, please.
Mr. Blazak?
Yes.
Mr. Panzak?
Yes.
Mr. Pondinas?
Yes.
Mr. Schilling?
No. Let's go just a little longer.
Mr. Swett?
Yes, that passes 4-1. You're outvoted. This meeting is adjourned.